You might be wondering, how is the Trump campaign handling the fallout of Mark Robinson yesterday? Reportedly, the Trump campaign wanted him to pull out of the race and he refused. Well, the reports are now out that Mark Robinson is no longer welcome at Trump rallies, and Trump is now declaring himself the pro-vaping presidential candidate. I saved flavored vaping in 2019, and it greatly helped kids get off smoking, raise the age of 21, keeping it away from the kids. Kamala and Joe want everything banned, killing small businesses all over the country. I'll save vaping again. He also says, how bad is it when a candidate running for office makes a major part of her campaign and that she works at McDonald's, and it turns out not to be true, but the worst part is the media refuses to talk about it. This is simply not true. We know it's not true. The media has talked about it. She didn't list McDonald's on her resume for law jobs because no one actually does that. And then we have J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance had the best day of his life, essentially, and definitely the best day running as Trump's VP candidate because he ran away from the media. The least amount of scandals he's had in a 24-hour period by far was him just running away when they asked about Mark Robinson. And then J.D. Vance always has to make an error. He invoked Mark Robinson himself. J.D. Vance says, rushes into other room. I was walking to the doctor because one of my kids gave me the plague. My comment on Mark Robinson is that Kamala cast the deciding vote on the Inflation Explosion Act. Because of that, a lot of Americans can't afford groceries. So he's claiming that he was in public while completely sick, surrounded by staffers. That's not a great look. But then he wanted to say that about Mark Robinson. So since J.D. Vance has invoked Mark Robinson and will not denounce Mark Robinson, I thought it was only fair to share with you a statement that CNN says is from Mark Robinson. And I want to be very clear, this is someone who is currently the lieutenant governor of North Carolina, wanting to be the governor of North Carolina. This is a man who called himself a black Nazi. This is a man who's extremely anti-Semitic, denies the Holocaust, hates LGBTQ people, says people shouldn't be able to get abortions. The list goes on because everyone else is a degenerate but Mark Robinson. And I think you should hear what he has to say. Oh boy. Had me another hot morning with the wife's sister. She brought along her laptop this time, and we watched some vids here on NA. That's Nude Africa. The one that really got us hot was called Wet Anal. That vid got her pussy soaking wet, and y'all know what I did, right? That ass was wet, slick, and good and pissy, and I licked and sucked that pussy and asshole till my face was covered with her funky juices. Then she sucked my dick till it was good and hard, and then lubed it down with wet. Then she laid back while I greased that asshole with her pussy juice and wet. Watching my big dick slide in and out of that asshole takes my breath away. It looked so good. We ass fucked a lot, but she gave me a extra nasty, sexy surprise this time. Right when I was really pumping the dookie chute good, she shot a long, hot stream of piss up in the air that covered my chest and stomach. It was so fucking hot. She was coming, I was coming, she was pissing, and I was covered in piss and pussy juice and lube. Damn, this girl is good, and I can't wait till next week to get some more. This is the man that Donald Trump knows better than to mention. This is the man that J.D. Vance invoked. No one is forcing J.D. Vance to respond to this tweet. This is an unforced error. J.D. Vance invoked the name of a man who went on a porn website and posted racist shit. In addition to what you heard, he's a porn site poster. He comments And not just comments, he's like, yeah, Hitler's good. Like he was about how Hitler was better than Obama, for example, right? Like, and JD Vance is like, you know what I need to do? I need to say his name. I gotta say his name. JD Vance had the best day he could. He couldn't help himself. Now, I don't know if I'll do a video on this. I might, but honestly, it'll be short, so I'm just going to kind of talk about it here. Republicans are still taking efforts to cause issues during the election that they can then use to then claim the election must have fraud. For example, Georgia. We are, 50 days out from the election, and Georgia has decided that they are now, Georgia Republicans have decided, they are now going to require a hand count, delaying the Georgia election results, probably not days, possibly not just weeks, possibly months to get the Georgia results. And to me, that answer and the reason is very simple. Because by doing that, that gives a state that if it starts coming out that Donald Trump's not going to win, maybe the Republicans can try to delay it past the certification date and try to prevent Kamala Harris from getting 270. That's my guess, right? It also gives Trump fuel and say, why is it taking so long? Because they shouldn't have done a hand count. They shouldn't have done a hand count right off the bat. They should have done, at the very least, an electronic count followed up by a hand count, but that's not what we're doing. Or a selected hand count to make sure, random selection to make sure everything's accurate. That's not what they're doing. And we're seeing similar things in other states. A big thing going on is, of course, Nevada. Nevada's wanting to change it. So they want to change their state from being a not winner take all to a winner take all, which would basically cost Kamala Harris, I think it's a single point at the Electoral College. But also legally, from my understanding, they are outside of the range where they can do that. They'd have to do that change earlier. But there's rumors they're going to try to do the change anyway and didn't make it fought in court over that like actual vote. It's ridiculous how like they're struggling because they kind of have to, because this is the guy, right? This is the guy. They're not just running on Donald Trump, they're running on this guy, and neither of them's doing well. Donald Trump is like, oh yeah, I'll say vaping. My opponent worked at McDonald's. That's what Trump has. And what JD Vance has is, oh, look here, piss Hitler. And then just goes on to a completely different topic, right? Like, these are the worst candidates they could have had.